All right, computer graphics one. If you take a look up here, eyes up here, everybody. All right, so let me show you how to use the brushes. So let me put on the default ones. These are they shouldn't be on here. So I'm just gonna reset my brushes so we go back on the brushes. So on the very top of these brushes, these are like the basic brushes that we've been using to kind of just like lay out all of the colors, the values of your entire landscape drawing. So even before you get to like the part that I'm showing you now, you just want to make sure you have like a good idea of what areas are light in your painting, and then what areas are going to be dark. Okay, so you want to have like at least like a general idea of like where your lights and darks are. But once you're done with that, though, you can keep scrolling down to the bottom, and then once you get closer to the bottom, you're going to start having these brushes with more textures or patterns to them. So if you go like to the very bottom, there's like a lot more. So some of these have some like really interesting patterns. So if you so I clicked on like one of the ones on the very bottom. So if you enlarge the brush really big, it's gonna have like a really interesting pattern. If you look at this pattern here, this is almost like a similar pattern to, maybe possibly something like a cloud or something in the sky. So you do have to look carefully at these patterns just to see what they look like. This will probably be something more I might want to use in the sand here. So I mean, a lot of these don't really have like names for what they are. You just have to look at it and just kind of like see what you want to use for it. So I'll use this one just to start off as an example. So like this one here, this one here. This one kind of mimics like the sand more. So basically, when you're applying the brushes, you just want to create a new layer, and then all you're doing is you're using the eyedrop tool, and then you just eyedrop in the color. And you might want to change the opacity to 100 at this point because basically we're just going over these areas again and just recoloring them. So, oh, okay. So another thing too that you'll notice is it's not really showing up too well on my picture here. It's showing up very little on the bottom here. So now the thing with these brushes here though, they have a certain what's that word? Like a certain way that they're the way that they're preset. So the way you can change your presets is if you go to Windows, and then you click on brushes. So we've been clicking on like the brush presets to pick out your brushes. So you want to actually have this brush window open. So if you look at over here though, I mean this is the same brush that I'm using now. Um, but these are basically like little presets you can add to the brush to make it work in a certain way. So, if you look at this, basically it's creating a certain scatter to it, a certain transfer. I'm not really too sure what transfer does, and a certain smoothing. So, basically, when you use the brushes, I highly suggest just unchecking these different things that are happening to it, and then when you actually use the brush, it's gonna look exactly as how that brush looks. Okay, so you want to make sure to uncheck all these things, and then you can use the brush the way that it's meant to be looked at. So now I'm going to I unchecked all those presets, and now I'm going to use the eyedropper, and I'm just going to eyedrop certain areas to kind of like create this shape and pattern. So one thing you might want to do for like this last step is it's actually a lot easier to use the mouse as opposed to the pen and the tablet. But you can still use the pen and tablet if you want. But basically, you're just going to be just clicking on these areas, kind of like almost like it's a little stamp that you're doing. You're kind of like stamping these patterns on, and then you can you can resize it too. But basically, I'm just going to go over these areas again. But this time I'm just going to apply the that pattern that I want to use. So I'm just going over these shapes again. But now you can see how it's kind of looking more like it's looking more sand-like on the ground, as opposed to what I had before. So after I go over this a couple of times, though, it's gonna start looking like a sand pattern to it. So this is just like a nice little detail to have at the end. Like, if I zoom in like right here, you know, like this part like down here in this corner here. Now it's looking more like sand. You know, if you were going to use like the tablet and using the brush, literally you would have to like make a lot of little dots to kind of create the same type of an effect. So there are some things in Photoshop that will give you a bit more of a shortcut to it. So you can scroll up. Also with the grass too. Like if you're gonna add grass to your picture, so like right here, there's some grass I can add. Um, you know, same thing with like the grass. Like the grass that we've been using before. So guys, take a look up here. So like the grass we've been using before, like literally you have to hold it, and then kind of like move it around to make that grass. So like when some of you were experimenting with before, you know, you didn't really have too much control of where that grass is. Okay, so you know, real important, you know, especially like if you're gonna use one of these grass ones, you do have to go to your Windows brush again and just uncheck all these different presets that are set on it. And then now, like you see the brush here, you know, like the grass that you want, it's gonna look exactly like the, you know, the how the brush should look. Okay, so this will give you a little bit more control, and also if you go to Windows Brush too, you can actually you go to Brush Tip and Shape. You can actually control like where the brush is, yeah, the direction of the brush. So you want to tilt it more to the side, more to the left. You know, you got a lot of options. So you know, this will help you to kind of like make like, you know, if you're trying to make like a bush. Yeah, you can make it look more like a bush now. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting things you can do with brushes, and the interesting thing about the brushes too is, I mean, you can download a lot of them on the internet because these are just ones that are preset in Photoshop. It's just we're just only going to use the ones in Photoshop though, because you know, I don't want to complicate it too much with downloading brushes. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. This one? Oh, this one's like an older version. This one's 6. Yeah, I think they have like it's like it's called like CC now. There's like 2 C's. The what? 3D? Oh, what do you mean by 3D? Oh, make it 3D. Oh, okay. You probably don't have it on the older version, but let me just finish this. So, you know, same thing with like the mountains too. Let me see how this looks. So sometimes you have to enlarge those brushes too. But yeah, you know, you can use like a different brush. Also, like change up your brushes too. Don't use like the same brush for everything. Like I think this one with the mountains is pretty good. This is looking like more like a rock. So you know, like the same thing like I did before. You can just stamp it. You can change the angle of it. You know, when you utilize these brushes though, it's going to make things look more realistic. Oh yeah, one thing to be really careful of with the brushes, guys, take a look up here, is you know, you want to use it like a stamp when using the brushes, because if you click and hold, it's just gonna work like a brush. Okay, so you don't want to do that with your brushes. You just want to click in the spot. And again, it's a lot easier if you use the mouse to do that. But yeah, you can also flip it between the axes too. The brushes, so you want to flip the Y, you can flip the Y. I think the X is left and right. Y is up and down. You just have to play around with it and check it though. Alright, but you guys have any questions about the brushes? There's a lot of really nice brushes on the very bottom if you look at them. Alright, but yeah, that's the part on the brushes. The brushes though, they're optional. If you don't get a chance to get to them, it's okay. But you know, I think it's like a nice little detail to add to your work if you have time for it. Alright.